Say, kids. PDR Tool Time. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mike Toledo, along with John Hiley, Vince D'Alessandro, and Daniel Brom. Hey, we got a really cool episode here. We've got a special guest. Let me finish, guys. Let me get my intro in. Let me get some talking right here. We got a special guest, but this topic is going to be about the current hail, things that are going on right now. Kind of started early, started popping, and so we're gonna bring our special guest on, and we got Dave Haxton on here. So get up for Dave Haxton. Welcome aboard, Dave.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks so much for having me.
Woohoo! Yeah!
Hey, Dave.
Hi, John. Hi, Daniel.
Whoop,
Dave.
whoop.
Where are you right now, Dave?
Oh, my God.
I wish I knew.
Daniel sounds like he's in the bottom of a, like a stone quarry yelling up at us.
Yeah.
Hello.
I believe that question should be directed at Daniel. Where are you right now?
Right.
I'm God.
Hey, it puts the lotion on its
Turn your
skin.
Things.
It puts the lotion on its skin. I've got Daniel here with
Forget the
me.
brawny guy.
Oh, man. When we all get our new toys, man, we don't know how to work them yet, and we try to work them on the day of the
I
recording.
blame this one on Mike. Mike
Like he
told me,
sounds-
"Oh, yeah, get this mixer or get this, get that." So I got.
You
all
got
this
the
stuff.
wrong
Look
mixer.
at him.
And I got all these buttons. I have no idea what they do. So,
Dude, this is actually awesome. I kind of like you at this, like doing it this way.
oh. Yeah, I was like playing God.
Oh my gosh! All right, hold on, Daniel. So. Anyways, how's you guys' work week? And Dave, how you doing out there, man?
Dave's doing great. Dave's doing wonderful.
Yeah.
Doing wonderful.
So you're working at home right now, Dave. Where are you located at?
I live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, just a little bit southeast of Nashville.
Nice. You guys get some pretty serious hail down there quite often.
It's a little sad. I don't know what it is about this area. Murfreesboro, especially this town, I would say probably 50% of the hail response population has worked in Murfreesboro at some point. So yeah, I'm in a good spot.
So, Dave, before we get into all the details and we're talking about what's going on in the current state of hail in the hail world, and you take your takes on it. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started into this, and how did you get into creating the company Dent Smart, and what do you exactly do with your company?
Sure. Quickly, in 95, I had a best friend that was running a route with PDR. I had some hail damage on my car. Took it to him to do the repair, and I just was at that point where I just wanted to work for myself. He was offering training, and I trusted him. He did a really good job of providing me a great atmosphere for that first 2 years, amongst friends and people that could cover for my insufficiencies at it. But that said, it was a good group, and still friends to this day. And I don't take it for granted that I was trained by him, John Wilkins, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and I don't take it for granted how well he treated me during that whole process. So it was easy to get into with a friend like that, and I kind of started getting into the hail a couple of years after I started a route. And once I started doing the hail, I didn't go back to doing the route. I enjoyed the travel. So, as far as the Dent Smart, it just came across that there was some structure in the industry that was not there. It was what I was looking for, something to belong to that had some structure, some priority. That could keep me in a radius, kind of. I was looking for all those things, and at the time, Dent Wizard was being taken from a franchise system where it was locally owned, and it was being sold to at the time, a private equity group, and they were going to basically, create a workforce, pretty much Dent Wizard had a mass exodus. So at the time, there really wasn't any structure. Dent Wizard itself was in flux. So because it didn't exist, I went with a partner, and through numerous conversations, we decided that we would try to create what wasn't there for me. So, but that's how Dent Smart was born. That was 99.
And Dent Smart, I always thought it was a franchise, but this is something that you started pretty much on your own or with a partner, correct?
That's correct, and it is. We have franchised it. We're in 14 states now. Well, 17 states now. But when we say franchise, we used to license, and the difference between licensing and franchising is two words: significant control. Those are the two words. So we used to license, and what happened was we were very particular about certain aspects, certain things, and the more particular we became, the more the Security and Exchange Commission wanted us to be a franchising versus a licensing. And they said that we had too much significant, quote unquote, significant control. So they made us, and let me tell you, franchising is way more difficult. But it's been a successful model for us.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's really good information right there, because, I can't tell you how many times in the last, 20 years, 22 years of doing this that, I have some bigwig like, oh, you should franchise this out, and I've always, considered it for about 5 seconds and then realized how much work it would be. I'm like, nah, I'm not interested.
Luckily, the joke is in my business partner, my original business partner, the joke was, I'm Dent, he's smart. And I enjoy Dent. It's the easy part. It's the easy way out. I'm taking the easier road. That said, he would never want to learn what I do. And I don't know if I would be, I don't know if I have the wherewithal to do the tactical things that he does, but he was already aware of franchising and things. So I was really lucky to find that original partner. And then I brought my wife in 2006, and I have to tell you, she's as talented as anyone in this industry, male or female. So, consider me lucky. But again, I'm Dent, and they're smart, and they do a whole lot of the tactical.
And you said, I was going to point that out. You said tactical twice.
Yep, tactical. Yep, I got a tactical hammer coming. Cracked silver. It's on the way. Can't wait. Love that thing.
Yeah, appreciate that.
But there's a tactical side and a technical side in every industry.
Yeah.
And the actual name Dent Smart was it was us acknowledging that there's a tactical and a technical side. That there has to be that tactical side. For example, who's finding you work while you're working? That's always a problem with an individual. So I think in a systematic approach, we really enjoy the way we do it.
Yeah, man.
So, Dave, we talked off air on this, and I just want to get this cleared up because some people were asking me, because I said I was going to have you on, and you kind of clarified this already, but I'm going to ask it again, and you can say it again. But there's a lot of guys out there, some new guys out there that are looking to get help. I guess it's starting to hail and all over the place. And
sure.
And you mentioned that you're a company that hires within. You kind of work with each other. You already have built accounts. But do you have any advice for the guys out there that need, like, maybe some guys that come in and help them or help run their accounts or so? But first explain what you do for your company, and then give some advice to those guys out there that are possibly seeking it.
I'll give you just real briefly what we do for each other is when one market is hit, the other markets lend the labor, the skill set, and the labor to take care of the market that's hit. And these guys rely on that. That way we cast a big net, and all we need is, one part of that net to get hit, one quadrant of that net to get hit, and we all descend on that quadrant and take care of it. So in our own system, that works. As an individual, you really never think about prepping maybe for a hailstorm, and then 15 minutes after it's hit, it's way too late. You're a year too late. So my advice would be, first would be to associate. Find some type of association. I truly believe that, I've had good luck with my PDR Nation membership as far as that would be the first place I would look outside of my own group, because these are people that have declared. These are people that are trying to declare themselves. NapDirt is another source that I would use. Facebook is that's a really good resource today. I would use Facebook. I would use some people that I knew that I trusted for advice, but associate. That'd be the most important thing, and get started on that today. If you're not, then what's going to happen is you'll find yourself with your accounts telling you, hey, we've taken this other company. I needed you here 2 days ago, and we've taken this other company. We'll get back to you after the hail. You can still do our door. And so, that local guy misses out on those opportunities. So I think association, and I know there's a whole lot of effort going on right now to, get people to communicate better and associate better. And I enjoy seeing that, because our industry deserves better than just being brokered.
Yeah. And, it's funny you said that, because we had Shane Jacks on a couple weeks ago, and he had just gotten hit with pretty much the first big hailstorm of the season. And, we were talking about, he was saying how he was fielding like 1,200 calls a week or something, and it was just overwhelming, and he wasn't prepared for it. And really, his stake was, how can you be prepared for a hailstorm? But you're a seasoned hail business owner, that you already are set up, and have been, and you have your process as to how you do it. And I think a lot of people, they don't think about that ahead of time.
Well, you're never going to be able to build a process for 1,200 calls a week. That happened to me in 2011, and you're literally in a storm for a storm of people coming in. Literally, the body shop parking lots that I was working were completely full the next morning. People were waiting for the the estimators to get in and stuff like that. Completely full, packed, and wrapped around going down the street. It was so bad. The storm was so bad here. And you'll never be able to get through that many calls. At that point, you just go to war and you handle what you can. Try to take care of your best customers. Try to get rid of the people who are just coming in to get estimates to go collect a check. And you strategize a system that just filters out the bad people and keeps the good people coming. And on top of that, I just want to capitalize on something Dave said, because I want to tell all you technicians out there that ask Mike that question, what do you do to prep for a storm? If you go on Facebook and you say, hey guys, I'm a local guy, I service 5 dealerships, I got 6 body shops, and I want to know any hail technicians out there, I'm creating a list. I'd like you guys to message me, and I want to put you on my list. I'm telling you that you will get 100 messages or more, because I've done that. Yeah, I've done that, and I had to create a Microsoft Word document back then. Now I got autoresponders and things people can type their email in, but at that time I just put it on a Microsoft, like a Word document, and I had everybody's first name. Sure. I just took the time, write down their first name, type out their phone number, and type out their email address.
Dave, how do you weed out, like, obviously, you get to pick the cream of the crop. I mean, is that you kind of know that person before, what kind of tech they are before they join your team? But what about people who are like John just said, you get all these 50 or 100 guys messaging you? How do you filter those guys out to know? You just cross-reference and ask their background and look into them? Or how do you know you're going to hire a good guy? We all know a lot of these techs are actually good techs. But how do you know he's a good character? How do you bring a guy on board? What's the qualifications beyond just him pushing well?
That's actually a really great question. I do. I will, in our system, we will bring a technician in that's new to our system, and we replace him with someone that's familiar with our system and get him familiar with our system. And in our system, it's a lot of language and lingo. We do a lot of legwork for insurance adjusters so that we can justify what we're asking for, blah, blah, blah. We bring that guy in, and then once we assess him, we will give him I guess an internal certification, through, I've got a little ARC program that I do internal certification. We will certify him immediately and then, prioritize that technician. I shouldn't say him or her, and prioritize that technician. And then from there on out, we're always going to offer work to people that we know and are familiar. So that's how we weed it out. If I were an independent and I wanted to create myself maybe some separation from the general tech population, again, I would join something that shows you, Mike, that I'm different, that I'm trying to declare. I would at least go get maybe Vail certified or be a PDR Nation member or a NatDirt member, and show that, hey, I'm trying to be separate from the general tech population.
Well,
now who are you showing that to? Are you showing that to the customer or the insurance guy?
I would be showing that to whoever would be hiring me to do the work, or maybe the shop owner. In the shop owner's case, a lot of times we don't have the time to, when we're responding to a hailstorm and maybe there's 4 or 5 other guys in the office, we really don't have the time to show him our skill or our service, or how well we're going to perform in a shop. So separation for me, creating separation for me would be maybe some letters of recommendation. Those are always really good. For technicians to create separation, there's a variety of ways to do it. But if you're just if you're a really, really good technician and you're not very well associated, the bottom line is there can be an inferior tech who's better at associating with you than you are and gets a spot and you don't.
Boy, I think
maybe not right.
Oh, sorry, Vince.
Some of them.
Go ahead, Vince.
That's one thing I've noticed a trend in the last 2-3 years on Facebook is people building their brand of themselves through the Facebook groups.
Great point. That's a great point.
I think it could be a positive and a negative, because I know a couple of them personally, and they can't really perform very well.
I don't know anybody who does that.
I could think of a lot of guys. I'm not sure if I should name their names, though.
I just can't think of anybody who builds their brand through Facebook, though. I mean, I don't know, dude. Hopefully, you're not saying that I suck.
But no, I'm not. But I'm not saying through. You don't build your brand through trying to get work,
right?
For hail, to get hired by a company. But there's been, I could think of at least a handful of guys that have tried to build their brand of themselves and get them known on Facebook, where I know personally that their work is crap, but boy, they do look good on Facebook.
But I'll tell you what you got to do, Vince. Let me just tell you something, man. In all honesty here, like when I staffed my own storm, and I mean, I was the typical, what Mike's saying, I'm the guy who all of a sudden we got hit with a storm. I mean, there was tons of cars. I was staffing a storm up in Springfield, like a real tiny one. I was doing it myself and had another guy with me. And then bam, my whole area gets blasted. I mean, I've got like 5 body shops I got to run. I got a big, I got a 30,000 square foot building I fill up with technicians. And I had to have the pipe running with guys all day long. It was like all day long I'm on the phone for that first month, bringing in new guys because it was a really busy hail year. Guys' hometowns were getting hit and they were leaving me overnight. So I had to have new guys stepping in their place. But one of the ways I had to control it is I actually had to put them on a car. And I had to watch how they worked on their car. And if they could do a good job on the car, that was good. And then
now if that happened again, John,
yeah,
would you go to like Dent Smart and hire them to do everything for you?
I am very well networked, and I've got a system totally built out. So I would typically, because I have my own shop here, I would do all that on my own.
Yeah, but if you weren't, would you?
I would typically do all that on my own still. I'm kind of, I love the excitement.
You're an organizing dude.
Look, I love the excitement of it happening. I like to be in control of it. I like bringing in the guys. I like taking them out on the weekends.
Yeah, you are
I like
that guy.
having the time. I like grilling out with them. I like making it a blast, making it a good time. That's just what I do. Me and my wife, we're like, we already got the list of the people, you know, our friends that we're going to invite when it comes up. We're going to get Mike here. We're hooking him. And we're flying his butt out here. Vince is pointing to himself. You guys know you're on. I mean, that I live for that type of stuff. So that would almost be like, okay, I'm going to say something. That'd be almost like getting married and letting somebody else, you know, take care of the fun stuff. Why would anybody do that, right?
Yeah.
I'm in business. I want to take care of the fun stuff.
You're wired for that, John. And I'll say this.
Yeah.
Some people are not.
Sure.
I'm not. I'm not wired for it. I need help in that area. Thank goodness I have it. But I think you're right. You know, in that you know you pre-built your system, and you may have 100 guys and only need 20, but you'll go through 100 guys to get 20.
Right.
That said, you know, I like the idea of you know, a technician, you know, asking in advance before you know, I think you got to do some fair weather thinking, because when the foul weather hits, it's over at that point. If you haven't prepped for it, it's over.
Right.
You know, it's going to get gobbled up.
Now, tell us how did you go from a small company to a big company? Because from what the guys have told me, you're one of the biggest, right?
I would say yes. You know, just from in the hail response industry, yeah, I would say that we're a good influence, especially in the Midwest. You know, we're strong in the Midwest.
So was that a gradual process, or was it a conscious decision? Hey, I'm going to be the biggest guy on the block.
You know, no. In fact, we had said early on that good took care of big, that big doesn't take care of good. So we were just good, and we were actually really good, and we grew correctly versus quickly. But it's been exponential in the last, you know, probably 5 or 6 years for us. Slowing that down and you know, getting a grip on that has been our biggest challenge.
Okay, what makes you so good? Is it just having policies and systems in place?
You know, I think it starts with making sure that the people that, you know, push dents for you are prioritized. You know, everybody wants to be prioritized. So we do a good job of prioritizing the technician, and then we get a good response from them. Certainly situations happen where things don't go so well when they show up at a shop for the first time, or maybe the first week it didn't go so well. You know, we have a way of fixing all those things. But I think what we do the best is, you know, we customer service. You know, the demand for our service is based on our response time and our customer service. So, you know, when our shop partners call and they just have a simple door ding, or they've got a full-blown hailstorm, I mean, we're always reacting within a few hours. So that's what we do well. And then we stay within our own system. I think that we do that well too. We don't go out and broker. You know, you don't find us in Dallas. You don't find us in South Carolina. You don't find us in Alabama. You know, you find us where we are. The shops that we've been servicing. So, you know, we get these shops addicted to that service. You know, that daily, day in, day out, whether they've got a storm or not. And so, doing that well over the years, doing it in one state, and that grew to another state, and that grew to another state, and then an insurance company would pick us up and say, you know, help us with this. And, you know, over the course of 16 years, you know, you can get your growth, but you just, again, you have to take it with the timing and the the wherewithal not to let that get out of hand.
Dave, it sounds like to me like a lot of your success is based on the fundamentals of knowing how to do business and, integrity, showing up when you say you're going to show up, all that. I think that contributes back to, if you know how to do the basics very well, like how people want to be treated, do you think that's obviously contributed to your success as Dent Smart?
I think yes. And to answer that, I think there's a lot of independents out there that run their route well. They take care of their customers well. And the thing that we try to do is tie those people in together and realize that, you're not alone. We have a slogan in our own company called, we say, be in business for yourself, not by yourself. So we do find a lot of local guys who want that army to come in when they need them, but also they want to be part of an army, if that makes sense. That they could, leave their route for a week and join us and fix some hail somewhere, or maybe 2 weeks, or even just leave their route period, if they're not happy with it, and still stay within a radius. So for the local guy, I think that doing business the right way, and then teaming up with other local guys that are doing business the right way is kind of what we do.
Yeah, I think a lot of, unfortunately, techs forget about the show up on time, do your job right, and let the rest handle itself. There is a lot of financial freedom that you get from this, but on the other hand, that people overlook their responsibilities to run a business. A lot of them forget that just because they're by themselves, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't run a business like it's a bigger business. If you think
right.
of me personally, I have 4 or 5 guys I run, but I act like I'm a giant franchise. And the customers react like I'm a giant franchise. But because I feel like my responsibilities, it is a big responsibility to run a business correctly. Even if you're a 1-man band or a 200-man band, you got to run it the same way and be responsible. And I think that contributes to anyone's success. So that's what I'm getting at, though, Dave, because I see how you run it, and successful companies, they know the fundamentals of how to run and treat customers, do customer service, show up on time, and do good quality work. And most of all, treat their customer or their employees or their subcontractors with respect. So I'm paying well.
I'll say this, Mike, that's a great point. The reward for good work is more work. And, with our technicians, the most important thing is to keep them busy. And for them, the most important thing is to stay busy by keeping these accounts, happy. But again, scenarios come up that, they're not the best. Situations happen where a guy goes, yeah, I'll go ahead and fix that, $300 door. $300 door to for $100 because you underpriced it. I get that. We drive 2 hours and customers don't show up. Those things happen. And so in running that business well, you take those situations and you fix them the next time they go out. And that's something that I think, if the technician feels secure that no matter what he does, as long as he's doing a good job, that it'll benefit him. And then we take that situation and we fix it. And, it's pretty simple, really. You just take care of your people. That's where the rubber meets the road, because they're taking care of your service. Make sure your service is top notch. We do a survey on every repair. And then we go talk to the accounts and we say, how's everything going? That's another thing that's important is for an independent or a big operation that's got multiple techs, is to go check on your accounts, ask them their opinion. How's the service? Are we matching up with your schedule? Are we doing a quality job? Are we using our space correctly? Are we using our time wisely within your facility? Blah blah blah. So asking those questions, it's amazing just getting their response to how interested they are in responding.
You know, Dave, I'll give you an interesting scenario here, and it would be my very first hail gig that I went to, right? And prior to that, I was just a dealer technician. I was just doing car dealership lot type dents. And I decided I wanted to chase hail, and I show up at this hailstorm and meet this guy. He takes me into the body shop, and it didn't take me long to figure out that I'm the worst guy in the whole freaking body shop. I mean, right? It didn't take me long to figure out that, okay, I got a lot more to learn, and this hiding the dent type thing or making all the dents better isn't going to work on a freaking hail damage car at a body shop, right? But I'll tell you what happened. The most talented people in there, they showed up late. They came in 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock. Now they killed it. They done a lot of cars. But I was there at 7 o'clock in the morning, right when them doors opened. And I was there at 7 o'clock at night, locking the place up. And by doing that, the owner really got to know me. He got to like me. He seen that I kept quiet. He seen that I was just working hard. He noticed that I wasn't near as talented as all the guys that I was lucky to be working around at that time. And the owner of the body shop loved me, and we're still friends to this day. Now, I worked that shop. I was the guy who stayed there the longest. So I stayed there for an entire year in Indianapolis, Indiana, and ended up being the guy who closed that shop down. Now, by the time I closed that shop down, I was just as good as the guys that were coming in late. And you know what the owner of the body shop came and told me? And I remember this day, it was an epiphany for me. He came up one day, and I was working on this beat-down neon roof, and he looked at me and goes, "Man, you are a mean technician." He's like, you weren't much when you showed up here. He said, "But you're a mean technician now." And that's when I had my first epiphany. I'm like, wow. Like, I made it into the business. I cracked into the industry.
Work ethic, man. Work ethic says a lot.
If I would have done what them guys done, I would have been the first one out of there. It just happened to be the owner was a really stand-up guy. He had a strong conviction for people who did their job right and showed up on time. And them guys were in and out, and I stayed the whole time, and he made sure of it. He took care of me, shook my hand at the end, called me an honorable guy, and we're still friends to this day.
Wow, it's a great story.
Now, let me ask you something. If a guy's looking for work, one, are you guys hiring, or do you guys put them on a list, or how does that work?
Are we hiring? Yes. I do our recruiting, and anyone that gets their number and information to me, I'm going to put it on a data sheet. And I'll be honest, I only have about 20, 25 guys on that whole list. So I'd love to double it. So yes, we're hiring, and they can, just call me or contact me at dentsmart.com.
What about trim? What about trim guys?
We don't offer quote unquote training. We offer apprenticeship.
No, trim guys taking part.
R&I
guys. Sorry, R&I guys.
R&I tech. So what we'll do is we'll apprentice a technician, and he will act as our R&I guy, trim guy, in our situations. And we usually have about a half dozen a year that do a 2-year apprentice with us. And of course, we're going to employ them later. We're going to put them to work, and we take them from day one to a full-fledged functioning technician. So that said, usually they do all of our R&I, but a trim guy could apply with us. I don't have an opening for that right now. Okay. Usually I don't have an opening for that.
Okay.
Well, after this episode, expect about 2,000 or 3,000 calls or messages here.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, we're going to make your job.
I would say that takes a lot. I'll be working the rest of the night.
And I want to give a personal testimonial for Dave. I'm sorry, real quickly. I want to give a personal testimonial for Dent Smart. I have not heard anything but good things about this company, and everybody I know who's worked with them as seasoned technicians, they stay. It's because they get consistent work, they get paid on time, and I mean, it's a good situation for everybody, involved. And you would be crazy to be a hail technician, to be out there and not have your name on Dent Smart's list and have them on there. I mean, they're one of the most stand-up hail companies out there, trustworthy, and that's what you're looking for if you're looking for that type of stability. So I got to give them 2 thumbs up.
Cool.
I appreciate that very much.
I'm messaging you right now, Dave. So
I got on his list while we were talking. I'm like, I was that sucky guy in that storm at Indianapolis.
Now, the other thing that we wanted to talk to you, Dave, about was, this hail year is just kicking off, and we wanted to get your thoughts on the current state of the hail that's out there and how you guys are doing, and how do you predict this year is going to go? And
tell me Ohio is going to get hit really soon. I mean, give me my predictions.
I'd love for Ohio to get hit. It's been a pretty crazy, active spring. And these cars today, I tell you, I think a good hard rain will dent some of them. But it's a really good spring. I know that our company is deplete of technicians. So any more hail, hopefully it'll hold off for a couple of weeks. But if I were to give this a scale of 1 to 10 this spring, I would give this spring a 10. Nice. It's as much as I've ever seen to be this early. But that said, it when it gets warm, when it gets hot, it shuts off. And from what I understand, we're going to have a very hot remainder of the spring and a hot summer. So take advantage of it.
What do you mean by that, though, Dave, for the guys who are not familiar with like the weather part? Because I kind of know what you mean, but I don't know what you mean. Like, what do you mean when it turns hot, it shuts off?
Yeah, it's always 70 degrees.
Once it gets hot, once it gets hot, for instance, the southeast usually warms up the first, and once it gets hot, it's not going to really have that much in severe weather from a hail perspective. It really needs that hot and cold fighting. And right. So that jet stream, it starts out in the southeast in the spring and then makes its way to the Canada border. So, hail season for the upper Midwest states is still, May to July. And for the southeast, it's April, May, and, first parts of June. So the hotter it gets, the less hail you're going to get.
Also, Dave, the one thing I always say, like, we'll have a storm coming in here in Ohio, and we haven't had any real good storms in Dayton lately, but there'll be some that'll come that'll look like they could bring hail. I'll step outside, and as soon as I feel that cold wind hitting me, like it's getting dark and the cold wind's hitting me, I'm like, there's no hail coming. It's got to be, typically, it's going to be warm when you feel that storm coming, and that cold's going to clash with that heat. And as soon as I feel cold wind blowing and hitting me, I'm like, nope, there went our chance for hail. Because it's literally like you'll see the storm barreling at you and it'll be warm, but there's a cold storm, like, or it can be vice versa, right, Dave? Could it be like cold and then a warm front barreling at you?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
There's a second season, October, November, where we worked a storm in Pekin, Illinois this year, for example. That was Thanksgiving. Very north for something like that, So it's been an unusual winter and spring, but that's been good for the hail, industry. So I'm all for it. If we can have every technician working every year, that'd be great. I wish it was hail like this all the time. But it certainly shows the value that we bring to the table when there's so much hail that they have to paint cars.
My father-in-law used to ask me. My father-in-law used to ask me. He's like, "Do you pray for hail?" And I'd say, "Well, maybe."
You do the dance. You do the hail dance.
I tossed that one in there with other stuff. So
very often you pray for hail, but right now I would pray for it to hit Colorado, hit Ohio, hit Ohio, hit New York, hit where we're not.
I loved it when you said that, man. When I heard hit Ohio, I got goosebumps, man.
So Dave,
bring it on.
Dave, let me ask you this: Can we talk numbers a little bit? Do you mind talking numbers?
Sure.
So
not at all.
If you're bringing in a guy that you don't know, you're gonna, let me understand this. Are you gonna start him off doing R&I work? Is that how I hear it?
No, in our apprentice program, we would take on someone that knows nothing about PDR. And,
okay. Now let's say
take him from day one.
Let's say you got a 5-year tech. He's been pushing
Yep.
local door dings, that kind of stuff, but he wants to get down the hail trail. He's new to the whole thing. So how would you bring that guy in? And
I think Daniel's trying to figure out if he's going to be.
Make?
Daniel's trying to figure out if he's going to be an R&I tech or not right now. That's what I see. Like Daniel's like maybe even a 20-year tech that could be good at motorcycle dents. What would you have him doing?
No, John, I worked my share of hailstorms. I got my ass handed to me. I thought my first hailstorm, I worked with Tom Price in Illinois. And I went out there thinking I was big stuff. And I got my hat handed to me. And I learned a lot, though. I appreciate what those guys do, but there's a rhythm, there's a process, there's a whole different realm of thinking. And it was funny because they had a guy come in with a big old dent. And this is in the early 90s. And I said, yeah, I can do that dent. And they go, no, you can't. And I go, yeah, I can. Watch. And I did it. And they were amazed at that. But I was amazed by what they were doing and how fast they were doing it. So it's a whole different animal. You know, it's a different.
I agree.
Dave, you ever work with Michael Meggs?
I have not worked with Michael Meggs.
Yeah, he's a really good technician. But he did the same thing, Daniel. I was working a storm with him, and a big dent came in. And I mean, he's a phenomenal hail tech. And he looked at me and goes, so how am I supposed to start this? And I'm like, he just hadn't done it in so long. And he wasn't used to doing the bigger dents. So there's a lot to be said for what Daniel just pointed out there.
I'll take that further to your point, John. I really truly believe that the hail response side of it is just a different focus. To Daniel's point, it's just a different focus. And they are a different repairer. I mean, they're fixing super high count, and they're making that stuff go away without residual effect. Without twinkles. Calling it glassing. So I think that skill set is that's not an easy skill set. That said, I think that the best dent guys are guys that fix the irregular damage, that's fixing the crush fenders, fixing the motorcycle tanks. They're probably the most technical of the PDR industry. I would say that those guys are the better dent guys, wouldn't you? Wouldn't everyone?
Well,
honestly,
well-rounded.
I would say, I'm gonna think it's a toss-up, Dave. I think it's an art, and I really respect you hail techs.
Two different arts.
Yeah, you guys can, and I think you said earlier, it's two different industries, two different animals. I mean, I've always preached that, you got to be MMD, and I've heard you guys talk to me. Some of you guys make fun of me saying that, but it's mixed martial dents, man. You got to be a black belt in everything you do. Otherwise they're going to become a match. Hey, there's a hail car coming, and you just got your butt whipped.
Mm-hmm.
You just tapped out on that car, and vice versa for a hail tech. If you can't take out bigger dents when there's a bad hail season or a couple of hail seasons, and he's getting his butt whipped. So he's not eating very well that year. But I don't want to overlook it. Daniel asked a question to you, and I think we overlooked in your answer because you didn't get a chance to answer it. And then we have some more questions. But Daniel asked, hey, what happens when you bring like a 5-year tech comes to you? How do you start him out? And what would be the pay scale or how do you handle it?
What can he make?
Yeah.
I would take that guy's talent and immediately use that talent. I would not be interested in him being an R&I guy, nor would he or she be interested in being an R&I tech. So we would take that tech, immediately put them at the pay scale that we put a master technician at, which is high on our pay scale, and work them and pay him and keep him busy. And once we have that familiarity with them, then again, he or she will always receive priority from our group for the next 10 years. Even if they say no for 10 years, they're still on that list to prioritize. So when a new technician comes on with us, they start at a high, hopefully they're a masterful technician and case closed. And then, I don't think we pay scale based on your skill level. You pretty much have to be masterful at it to be in our system anyway. So we would start that person off at pretty much the highest pay scale and let her rip.
What would they make a month, typically, an average?
Sure. I would say that most technicians in our group will average anywhere from 12,000, and that's their take home in a month. That would be the small side of it. On the big side of it, 35, maybe 1,000 in a month.
Wow. Okay.
That'd be
that's a pretty
good month.
Oh, and I'm here to tell you that there are guys out there that can no problem hit 80.
Yeah. In a month?
I've done.
You said 80?
80.
80.
I've done 80 in a month. Of course, that's not cutting with any broker or anything like that. That's cars coming directly to my shop. But I done 80 in a month.
Personally doing those cars?
Yeah, I personally did them cars. I had an R&I tech. I had Julio working for me. I did over 80 in a month, and I had a surgery in the middle of that month, an umbilical cord surgery. I don't know if you guys remember, but I had one a couple years ago, and I was down for a whole weekend and 3 days at the beginning of that week, and then going into the next week, I had to have Julio drop all the headliners on these cars, and I couldn't bend over to do a side panel, so I just did top panels. And it was 2 or 3 days before they took that bag that was hanging on the side of me and was injecting they had like a bag going into me that was injecting.
You finally got cut away from your mama?
Yeah, but it was like it had like pain medicine going straight into where they did my umbilical cord hernia surgery. And
you're working like 24 hours.
Yeah, I worked really hard. I worked really hard that month. That's probably one of the better months that I've ever had. Was about for me personally.
You're saying we should all be hooked up to bags with pain medicine.
It doesn't work. It doesn't. You don't even feel that stuff. But there is, and I've worked around a lot of technicians that are even at the 52.6% they were making. They were hitting the 20, almost 20 a week.
But if you're doing that, you're not writing up cars, you're not talking to customers, you're not doing all the clerical work, you're just pushing dents. There's no way you could do 80 grand a month and be writing up cars. Come on.
I was.
Come on.
No way.
I did.
No way.
Well, I'm telling you, man, I did. It might have been a perfect storm, and where the cars were, in a sense, they were hit just perfect. They were high dollar units that weren't overly smashed.
How many cars were you doing a day?
I literally
35.
I'd probably do one a day, easy.
I do think that there's a Goldilocks damage. Everything has to line up just right.
Mm-hmm.
To do more than say 30 in a month.
I'm not BSing you guys. I am not BSing. Like literally, my wife.
Corvette to prove it.
No. My wife looked back at the accounting. I didn't even know that I did that much until we went into the next month and we were looking back at our QuickBooks. And she goes, "My God, here's what you took in that month." And there might have been some door dings and stuff like that in between the hail damage cars that came in during that month. But that was me when I had Julio as an R&I tech, just flat out. Solid working. Now, I got 100% of the money. Here's what you guys got to remember. I got 100% of the money because I own the shop, so I didn't split it with a broker. I didn't cut it with a company. I was getting 100% of the money.
Okay, I'd like to see. I'd like to follow up on those cars and see what they look like.
They looked amazing, dude. They looked amazing. I even remember a dude who came, an engineer that came and had his car repaired by me during that time. No, they looked good. Well, I don't know.
Of course they do.
Maybe it was all that pain medicine that I was taking. I might still... I might have just thought they looked super amazing.
Maybe that's...
And, but, nobody came back. Nothing was broken. Nobody complained.
If you guys don't mind, though, Dave, I got some more questions. I'm just keeping it rolling here, but any do's and don'ts that you would highly or share with us, and to the techs out there that are even thinking about doing hail, or maybe been in the game, man? There's been guys in the PDR game and just still don't know the do's and don'ts of anything. So what are your do's and don'ts in the hail world?
Do's and don'ts. Don't travel. And what I mean by travel is don't look for something when you're already in a good situation. I think that is a whole lot of problem. Not for the brokers, and certainly not for us. I wouldn't put us in the broker category, but, if you are not happy, if you're always looking for the home run, you'll spend all your time driving and looking and not repairing. That's one thing. Obviously, you want to be in the best case scenario. So if you're not in the best case scenario, finding the best case scenario is okay. But at some point, you're making nothing while you're driving around or on your phone. So that would be a don't. Put your head down, find a deal, find a good deal, find somebody that's paying you, find a shop that's got a lot of work, put your head down and do it. Put that phone down. As far as a do, I think we've covered it already. Make sure you associate, make sure you're trying to get as much separation as you can from the general tech population, and make sure you are, calling and following up and putting your name on people's lists so that you can get those calls. So that would be a do. But for sure, a don't would be don't try to find what you already have, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Well, I think it's time to move on to our tech tips. So, Vinny, you want to hit us off? You need to turn your mic on, Vinny.
Sorry about that. I was passing gas. I didn't want you guys to hear it on my super.
Yeah.
Right.
Mic.
We smelt it.
It's pizza night.
Yeah, it was pizza night. Exactly. It's coming back to say hi. Hi. I believe Daniel was going to start us off. He had some really cool things that he wanted to bring up.
I did?
Okay. While you're looking for that, couple 2-3 weeks ago, I was down at Mike's shop, and we had the pleasure of having Peter from VIP Knockdowns there. And he showed us a little.
I thought you just said you had the pleasure of having Peter at Mike's shop.
Yes, actually.
You did say that.
Yeah.
Not often you say that.
Did I say that?
I think you did. You just said you had the pleasure of having Peter at Mike's shop a couple weeks ago. What are you guys doing on the weekends around there, man?
Man, you really like that Peter, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I got to apologize. I did have a couple cocktails before the show tonight.
I bet it was easy to pass that gas, wasn't it?
Yeah, it gets me primed for Peter.
Dude, this is what happens if you guys move from Chicago to California.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, us Midwestern boys, you got to get used to the Peter out here in California. So Peter was there, and we had to take apart a door that one of Mike's trainees had dropped a R4 in the bottom of the door when he was working on it, or maybe it was Mike. Anyways, we opened up the door and we got down there. Mike, your mic is muted. Mike, we didn't hear you. And so Peter had this little technique that I want to share with you guys. There's times where you need the door open and you don't have a door jamb. And say you're working the edge of the door above a handle. And he made a very simple gesture, which was he took a screwdriver and closed the latch and then put the door shut. So the door stayed open about 2 inches, giving it enough stability that it's not bouncing around. And you could go through the holes in the top of the back of the door by the handle and fix a dent. And I thought it was really clever. It's one thing that I've never seen before. And it's so simple. I can't believe I never paid attention to it. But say you need to have the door, open just a little bit and you don't have a door jamb, or you just need it open to crack. Take a screwdriver, hit the latch so it closes, and then close the door, and it'll stay open. And the way to reverse that is you just open the door, and the latch comes back up, and you can close the door normal again.
Yeah, that was good. It was good.
That's a great tip.
Good. You guys want me to go?
Next.
Go ahead.
No, I'll go next. Well, I feel like we didn't have enough time with Dave. I feel that we could keep going on for another hour.
I feel slighted. If that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
he was asking me where he was waiting for. He messaged me earlier, said he was waiting for the limousine and something else. I forget what it was.
Yeah, I thought you guys were going to send a limo to pick me up. And
he did think that he had to travel somewhere at first. I'm like, no, man, we just call you. I should have had you traveled here. I should have you travel here just so I could hang out with you, take you out karaokeing, and then when you got here, I tell you that normally like people don't travel here. We just call you up.
I've got a long list of songs I think.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
Before I get to the tech tip, I wanted to cover a couple announcements. First of all, if you want that VIP treatment, come out and see us at Anson. We're all going to be there except for John. John's too important for us. But we're going to be rolling over at Anson, me, Vince, and
Mike.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing a live podcast at Anson's, and they're having a huge open house. Everybody's going to be there. I mean, it's almost looking like a little mini MTE. It's going to be off the hook.
Yeah, this kind of pisses me off, by the way.
Well, we invited you, so
yeah. You guys gave me 1 month notice, and I had a guy. Look, I've got a guy. I got a guy who I'm training who saved up his life savings and is coming here as is really special to this.
Hey, I'm taking you to Texas.
It's really special to this guy, and I can't do that. So I already had that planned out.
Give him a makeup day.
Make it up on a Saturday or Sunday.
He works for he has like a cousin that's a dent wizard's been teaching him how to do it. So he's getting pretty good, but he needs to go over that limit. But he works for a trucking company. He had to take a vacation for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like he can get like so many vacation days a year.
Yeah. Well, believe me, John, we're totally gonna miss you. We wish you were there to launch our special Tool Time.
Why
I'll be thinking about
out to represent you,
putting foots up your asses the whole time I'm there.
Your wife party's way better than you do. So send your wife out.
Oh yeah, all right. You'd sure like that, Mr. Pervert.
Right?
Yeah. If I told her you were going to be there, she wouldn't go.
So we're all going to be out at Anson. They're doing a bunch of giveaways. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make yourself out there. It's some Texas barbecue.
Where is it?
In Arlington, Texas.
That's Arlington, Texas. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
great guys.
Now,
I love the people at Anson.
Yeah, great family, great guys. The company's been around a long time, and they do a great service to the PDR industry. Now, just to rattle off some names of who's going to be there, Shane Jacks will be there, Carl Stuckey will be there, James Lee will be there, Dent Technologies will be there. Stan Liner is talking about being there.
Steve from Ultra is going to be there.
Steve from Ultra, yeah. There's going to be a ton of guys that we're not even mentioning. Oh, most importantly, Mobile Tech RX is going to be there. And they're going to go over their whole program with you one-on-one. If you need any coaching or counseling with the program, they will be there to help you. Also, a big one is that the TDN tool guys from England are coming out, and they're going to be showcasing their new hood stand. So I talked to Kevin Matthews today, and I'm sorry, Kevin Andrews, and he's going to be there. He's bringing a hood stand for everyone to look, feel, and touch. And this is an exclusive thing as well. Anson is getting the first 200 of these hood stands before anyone else in this country. So if
you need a hood stand,
it's a great hood stand, and it's a good time to come and look at it and touch, feel, taste, destroy before you buy it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Real cool.
Okay, now on to my tech tip.
Sorry.
So I was at a body shop, and I was working on a Honda Insight and taking out the tail light. And you know those tail lights, you'll see them on several cars where they have a little plastic cover. They're covering the two bolts that you have to get to take that tail light out. And I've been prying in there and prying that thing out and just, forcing it out. And this guy comes over And he goes, "Oh, you want to know how to get those out?" And I go, "Yeah, sure. What? How do you do that?" He pushes in the corner. He just pushes down on it with his fingers really hard, really fast, and the thing flexes out and the thing pops right out. I was like, "Holy moly!" That was way easier than the way I've been doing.
Kind of like ejecting it.
Yeah, it was just like ejecting it. I was like, that was like ninja stuff, man. That was like, I was like so impressed.
I like
so
that.
Simple. I was like, it's those idiot moments that really get you sometimes. So there's my tech tip.
Go.
Right.
That's a good one.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in here then. And since we're kind of going over time right here, I was going to talk a little bit about, for hail damage, how to position your lights and how to cross-check as the dent's coming up. But that's going to turn into a big deal, and I actually just did it on my podcast, Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. I had a lot of guys hit me up about, in a sense, guys are trying to fix and finish dents in fog, and they don't understand when they pull the fog away why the dent's still there. Well, I clarify all that up, and I teach you exactly how to cross-check like the pros. And if you're looking about going into the hail damage industry, you have to listen to that podcast. It's called How to Cross-Check Like the Pros.
How much does that cost, John?
It's free, man.
No way.
Dude, I'm just giving some technical information. I don't have enough time to do it on this podcast, and I just wanted a way to help guys out. So I do that, and I talk about a lot of stuff, and hopefully I suck you into a Dent Trainer subscription during the process. But, hey, it's a byproduct. If not, I'm giving you good information that just gets you there. It'll get you there, I'm telling you.
That's good. So,
all right, Mikey, you're up. Mike.
You know what? He had another tech tip that he was showing us. Peter did. Do you remember the other one? There's two of them.
Peter. He was showing us another one. I can't recall what it was now.
It was something about another door panel thing or something. I can't remember what it was, man. Or was it tape? Or I don't know. Anyways, when I remember, I'll say it next time. But it was on the tip of my tongue.
And speaking of that, Peter is a good hail tech, like a really good hail tech, and he's a good tech in general. Yeah.
So Dave, do you have a tech tip for us?
A tech tip. Something that I do a lot is I use my window wedges as to keep my hands off of a headliner. So that it's just to reduce the fingerprint. I'll use my sharp window wedges, especially the curved ones, to get in behind like a B pillar or an A pillar or a C pillar and start that popping process, and then I can put my hands on it once I get it out a little bit and then pull it. So I'm not touching the headliner. So anyway, if you're not using a window wedge for some of your trim and R&I, you might want to try that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I agree with that. And moldings. I use that for moldings too if I got to get underneath one. Heck,
absolutely.
I use them suckers everywhere around the car, man. Them things are...
Absolutely. I have a dirty one that I use on the actual jamming of the door or opening up a door, but then I have a clean one I use for R&I.
I gotcha. All right, guys. So I think we're going to go ahead and close out this episode of PDR Tool Time. We appreciate having Dave Haxton here from Dent Smart. If you guys want to get hooked up with his company, head on over to dentsmart.com. Shoot Dave an email. He wants to hear from you. He wants to pack down his tech base. And I'm here to tell you he's got my endorsement. I've never heard anybody have a problem with that company. And so any of you guys out there would be fortunate to get involved with a company that has such a great reputation. And other than that, I'm going to go ahead and close this episode out with Daniel Grom. What you say, bro?
Level up your tools.
And Mike?
Yeah, don't do anything I wouldn't do twice.
Yeah, and join the revolution. All right, Dave. Appreciate you, bro.
Thanks for having us.
Take care.
Dave.